One of the most profound movements and one of the first real social movement in American history was all about slavery. And that's labor. And it was about creating a different kind of democracy, different kind of way of thinking about the economy. And I think these battles aren't over. The African American portion of American wealth as a whole is 3% today. And the last time it was 3% was in 1868, 3 years after slavery. African Americans going back to before the Civil War, and the earliest African American spokespersons and writers and leaders like Frederick Douglass and others argued that the fundamental feature of the American economy was dehumanization. And they also argued that you can't have a democratic constitution and an economic system that degrades and exploits people. Many of the radical Republicans who fought for the Civil War and in the Civil War believed the same thing. I think the true intent of the 13th Amendment wasn't just to eliminate chattel slavery. It was to eliminate all forms of economic oppression and create what we would now call living wages for everybody. I think that was the true intent. But these things were overthrown. After the Civil War, there was a counter-revolution, Lincoln's assassination, the destruction of Reconstruction. We got segregation, which wasn't just about making white people feel superior, it was about a cheap labor force, which persisted. The 1963 March on Washington, where everyone sees Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Well, King wasn't head of that march. A. Philip Randolph was, the first black trade union president. The demand of the march was for jobs and freedom. Jobs came even before freedom. That sort of dream of a new kind of economy was tightly connected with thinking about voting rights and a new kind of politics. And when African Americans said we refuse to work as basically semi-slave laborers with no rights and no voting rights and no protections, and my generation said we're not going to do that work that our parents did, then employers started bringing undocumented immigrants into the country to work with no rights and no protections. And when the government said, well, what are we going to do with all these young folks like me who don't want to do this kind of semi-slave work? They didn't reform the economy. They said, let's lock them up. And we got mass incarceration. And so I think all of these things are related to our history. All of these things are part of the challenge of changing the system. And the system connects these things.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 "21. My father is run over by a car. He's passed out in the road with a blood alcohol content 4 times the legal limit. I do not cry. 4 months later, the nurses lose his pulse, and I wonder whose life flashed before his eyes. Rewinding VHS tapes, old home videos. 20. 19. I haven't brought a friend home in 4 years. 18. My mother sips the word divorce. Her mouth curls at the taste like it burns going down. 17. I start doing homework at Starbucks. I have more meaningful conversations with the barista than with my family. 16. I wait for Christmas Eve. My brother and I usually exchange gifts to one another early. This year, he and my father exchange blows. My mother doesn't go to Mass. 15, I come up with the theory that my father started drinking again because maybe he found out I'm gay. Like, if he could make everything else blurry, maybe somehow I'd look straight. 15. My mother cleans up his vomit in the middle of the night and cooks breakfast in the morning like she hasn't lost her appetite. 15. I blame myself. 15. My brother blames everyone else. 15. My mother blames the dog. 15. Super Bowl Sunday, my father bursts through the door like an avalanche, picking up speed and debris as he falls. Banisters, coffee tables, picture frames, tumbling, stumbling. I find his AA chip on the kitchen counter. 14. My father's been sober for 10, maybe 11 years. I just know we don't even think about it anymore. 13. 12. 11, Mom tells me Daddy's meetings are for AA. She asks if I know what that means. I don't. I nod anyway. 10. My parents never drink wine at family gatherings. All my other aunts and uncles do. I get distracted by the TV and forget to ask why. 9. 8. 7. 6. I want to be Spider-Man. Or my dad. They're kind of the same. 5. 4. 3. I have a nightmare. The recurring one about Ursula from The Little Mermaid. So I get up. I waddle toward Mommy and Daddy's room, blankie in hand. I pause. Daddy's standing in his underwear, silhouetted by a refrigerator light. He raises a bottle to his lips. 2. 1. 0. When my mother was pregnant with me, I wonder if she hoped, as so many mothers do, that her baby boy would grow up to be just like his father.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. What's today's date? The 19th? February 19th already? Welcome. Welcome to The Bill Press Show. I got to get used to this new studio setup. This is the first time I've hosted the new studio. What's behind me? It's pitch black outside. I gotta get used to my new camera angles. Right? It's like a whole thing. This is cool, though. If you haven't watched the show yet with our new studio, you really should go check it out. TawkrTV.com, YouTube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV, or also on Free Speech TV, on DirecTV or Dish Network, or on the Roku box. If you got one of those, you can go to freespeech.org. They got the stream there. Go check it out. Hello, everybody. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Friday show. Lots of good stuff coming up today. A bunch of town halls last night, some for the Republicans, one for the Democrats. Donald Trump has gone to war with the Pope, which is hilarious. I mean, just on its face is hilarious. So we're going to get into all of that. If you are watching us, if you're seeing the new studio and watching us on TV, it is because Cyprian Bolding is doing his job, keeping us live on TV. If you call the number at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377, you can talk to the wonderful Ray Rogers, who is standing by to take your calls, and running the board, the man behind the Jamie Cam.
Jamie came back, y'all.
Jamie Benson. By the way,
5 straight days of Jamie Cam.
We caught a hot tweet.
Not going to stop now.
We caught a hot tweet at 11:30 p.m. last night from Maynard Del Mar. Shout out Maynard, who says, "Man, that Jamie Cam, how is he so damn cute? The new studio looks great too. Look at him mugging. Look at Jamie mugging for the Jamie Cam. I know you're getting that, right, Sip? Yeah.
He is
as happy as a puppy with two Peters. Look at him. He's so excited.
Are we opening up the mailbag again today?
Oh, the mail sack.
I don't.
We are going to open up the mail sack a little bit later on.
Pause.
We are going to open up the mail sack a little bit later on. Yeah, because as you know, if you watch the program, if you could tweet at Jamie, who is at JBensonDC, and he's got his email there. And if you are so inclined, you could send Jamie send him a hot email there, and we'll read it on air.
Sure.
We'll read it on air.
Let's do it.
Speaking of Mr. Benson, Jamie and I went to the Wizards game last night, which was a wonderful time. First of all, we went to dinner at my buddy's place. Jeremiah Langhorne, he runs a restaurant called the Dabney, which is phenomenal. We had dinner there. And then we went over to the Wizards game. Because they were playing the Jazz, and it was like, okay, at least we get to go see a Wizards win. I can tell you something. If you haven't seen this mascot for the Wizards, gee whiz, it's on the screen behind me right now, right? What would you call it? What is it? What is the mascot?
I'm thinking of, it's a character from...
Like
Muppets.
It's kind of like a Muppet. It looks like Gonzo. It looks like a cross between Gonzo and like a Smurf.
It's a Hunter S. Thompson inspired.
It's weird. Like
mascot.
it's a drug dream that
someone took LSD and said, "All right, we got the mascot."
And I'm gonna tell you something. I know this is probably an unpopular opinion. I don't like it.
I don't love it, but
He's
become a staple. There's two mascots.
Yes.
There's G-Wiz and there's G-Man.
G-Man.
G-Man I have not seen much of lately.
He's just like a dude in a blue bodysuit.
A little concerned about G-Man.
Not going to worry about G-Man.
Well, growing up as a Celtics fan, I remember one of the guys who played Lucky, their mascot.
Yeah, you have a leprechaun.
He had a severe drug problem after a couple of years. So, I'm concerned about...
Which, I mean, real talk, I would too if I was a mascot for an NBA team.
That's what I'm saying.
So I don't like the G-Wiz thing. So we're sitting in Jamie Benson's luxurious seats, his luxurious season tickets. And this little goblin, this mascot, comes running up the stairs, and he's got this looks like a tambourine, but it's a big tight drum. And as the Wizards are playing defense, he starts banging on this thing, ball, and then everybody starts yelling defense, right? But the defense, right? But he's banging on this drum right in my damn ear. It's the worst thing. Jamie. I almost got up out of my seat. It was like, get out of here. You got to get out of here. Because there's nothing more that there's one thing in life that I'm really, actually, really scared of, and that is being scared. I hate being scared. I don't like being, startled or scared or any of that. So you got this creature, this thing, This look at that thing behind me.
I should add one comment here.
Look at that thing.
Ray has decided that G-Wiz's nose looks like a flaccid penis.
You know what? She's not wrong.
She's not wrong.
She's not wrong. He's got a dong hanging off of his face. That's terrifying.
Well, 12 minutes into the show, and we're off the air.
Good morning. Anyway, look, it was a good game. It was fun to watch. There was some trash basketball by the Jazz, but there was some great plays. John Wall is having a crazy good season. Too bad the Wizards are trash.
One final note about G-Wiz. I do have a theory that he is doing this drumming on purpose because he saw me cheering loudly for my first team, the Celtics, when they played in Washington.
This is your fault.
So I think he's been coming to me each and every game.
This is
now,
your fault.
Just trying to bang that thing in my ear.
You know what I do? This is what I do. When he starts banging on the thing, all I can do is just sit there and close my eyes.
Think of a happier place.
And just wait for him to go away. Seriously, I just have to sit there because I don't want him. Because if I sit there with my eyes open and he starts banging on the drum, I do this the whole time. It's driving me crazy. It looks like I'm having a seizure because this guy's just banging on the drum. Anyway, the Wizards won that game handily, I might add. So good job by the Wizards. All right, lots of big show coming up. Next hour, we're going to be talking to Nikki Schwab and Clara Ritker, both in studio. In the final hour of the show, it's going to go completely crazy. We're going to talk to Roger Gastman, a buddy of mine and a director and producer of a movie on Graffiti. And then Eric Bruner-Yang from Toki Underground and Makedo is going to be bringing us in some breakfast. And later on in this hour, we're going to get an update on the political situation in South Carolina with a reporter for The State newspaper. Her name is Jamie Self. Little trivia: she and I went to high school together.
Oh,
yeah. This is what she told me when I emailed her yesterday. She goes, "Great, I'm looking forward to chatting with you for the first time in almost 2 decades on a live news broadcast. This should be fun." So who knows how this could go?
You haven't talked?
No, I mean a little bit of back and forth.
A little awkward.
Well, I mean, I don't Facebook much, and she's always got her thing going. So this guy, I don't know.
I'll have the soundboard ready.
Be ready. Anyway, all that coming up. But first,
this is the
Jamie Benson's got your big headline for the day. Come on, Jamie.
Just a couple of other stories for you on this Friday morning. We're talking about the Wizards. Let's talk a little bit more broadly about the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday was the 2016 NBA trade deadline at 3 p.m. Eastern. That means teams had to complete all player transactions between each other by 3 p.m. yesterday. Nothing really happened, right?
It was pretty slow.
Dwight Howard of the Houston Rockets was perhaps the biggest discussed name that may have gone to another team. That came and went. Dwight Howard is still a Houston Rocket this morning. Kevin Love of the Cavaliers, another star that could have been on the move. So here are the trades that maybe matter. The Cleveland Cavaliers traded Anderson Varejao, who's one of LeBron's best buddies, to the Magic for Channing Frye. The Nuggets have traded Randy Foye to the Thunder for DJ Augustine, Steve Novak, and 2 second-round picks. And right here in Washington, the Suns traded Markieff Morris to the Wizards for Chris Humphries, DeJuan Blair, and a first-round pick. no more Mr. Kardashian, a.k.a. Secret Weapon.
That's it. Yeah, Humphreys is gone. By the way, did you see Markieff Morris leaving the Suns facility yesterday?
I did.
On a hoverboard. And he gets on his hoverboard and he starts scooting away with a trainer or somebody's next to him. And he forgot that there was a speed bump. So he had to stop, and get off his speed bump, or get off his hoverboard and go over the speed bump. It was very awkward.
A lot of internet commenters made a good point. That is one of the saddest exits.
It was really sad.
For a player on a team.
It was horrifying.
For those that don't know, Markieff Morris used to play with his brother on the Suns. The Suns traded his brother to the Pistons. Markieff did not take the separation well.
Yeah.
And thus Markieff is no longer a Sun
and
either.
He rides off into the sunset on a hoverboard.
Hey, good news. If you are a fan of the movie Deadpool, Peter, I know you went to go see
I am a fan.
In the theaters this past weekend.
I did.
One diehard fan, his name is Andrew Steege, has created a change.org petition to bring not just Ryan Reynolds, but Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool to host Saturday Night Live.
This is a great idea.
You think it would work?
I do think it would work.
Because the movie, it's I haven't seen it yet. I don't know too much about Deadpool, the character, but as I understand it, he's a superhero, but he's a extremely dry, sarcastic, hilarious superhero.
Yes. He's a very funny, very irreverent superhero. It's a very, very funny movie. And the comic is great. The movie does the comic well, right? So, if you, the way I always describe Deadpool, because I read the comic for years and years and years, the way I describe Deadpool is there's a great arc in a Deadpool comic where Deadpool gets super drunk and steals Tony Stark's Iron Man suit.
Right, yeah.
And that's my favorite. That I think describes Deadpool, the whole Deadpool thing to a T. I also, if you're thinking about going to see Deadpool, you should go see Deadpool.
But not with your kids.
No, not with your kids. For God's sake. I can tell you something. I put up there, I'm going to see the Deadpool movie on whatever, on Facebook or whatever, and it was let me know if I can take my kids to it. No, you can't. It's profoundly R, right? It's very
hard R.
Hard R.
All right, this petition started 4 weeks ago, has garnered over 25,000 supporters to date. I don't think we're going to see Deadpool hosting.
I don't know why Saturday Night Live would do it, but I'd watch. That's a good idea. I don't think it's
And finally, here is a new study that affects all of us here at the Bill Press Show. So listen up. Yep. More than a third of Americans say they're not getting enough sleep.
Oh.
Which, of course, is
I'm surprised it's only a third.
Putting ourselves at risk of obesity, heart disease, and other issues.
Check.
So says special researchers. Yeah, I think we're all
pretty. I think we got it covered.
Yeah. So the findings obviously suggest Americans need to learn some more healthy sleep habits, like going to bed at regular times.
Nope.
Not last night. Turning off televisions and other electronic devices.
I don't think so.
Lock that phone in a drawer.
No, I don't believe that'll be happening.
Don't check it out until you're actually in the office.
Last night was the least amount of sleep I've gotten in a while. I've adopted this whole new regimen of getting more sleep, right? And it's been going mostly well, but last night not so much.
I've had a good sleep week with the exception of last night. So I think overall I'm feeling pretty good.
I came home. And the town halls were on. We can get out of this. Let's go. There you go. Jamie Benson rides off into the sunset on his hoverboard. Don't go too far, because I need you. But I got in and I started watching these the town halls, right? Trump was up when I came in. I imagine they saved him at the very end. And then, I was just up for a little while. I ended up getting to bed midnight last night. It's the worst. It's just a terrible feeling. But these town halls, Jack, these are something else. First of all, I want to start off with Donald Trump's day, because what a day he had when the Pope came out and essentially said that Donald Trump is not a Christian. Now, it's a difficult statement, right? That the one that the Pope put out. I'm going to read straight from it because he doesn't mention Donald Trump by name, but it's pretty clear who he's talking about. Quote, a person who thinks about building walls wherever they may be and not building bridges is not Christian, end quote, is what he said about Donald Trump and his border plan. He also said, I would give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt before he hears the plan. Quote, I say only that this man is not a Christian if he has said things like that. Now, we all know that Donald Trump has in fact said things like that. So essentially the Pope says, you have to parse through this a little bit, but essentially the Pope says that Donald Trump is not a Christian, which I don't know how the Pope could say that, because we all know that The Art of the Deal is Donald Trump's second favorite book. You know what his first is? The Bible. And you know what his favorite Bible verse is? That thing from 2 Corinthians, right?
2 Corinthians, they walk into a bar.
Yes, exactly. 2 Corinthians.
And they read The Art of the Deal.
That's how it goes. That's how Christian Donald Trump is. So Donald Trump immediately fires back and calls the Pope, a man who can literally be described as His Holiness or Your Grace, he calls him disgraceful.
For a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful.
Now, Donald Trump does sort of have a point here because this has become an election where questioning people's faith has become the norm. Someone was questioning the faith of Ted Cruz because he didn't tithe enough when he went to church. But at the same time, you can't run around telling everybody that can hear you what a great Christian you are and how much you love the Bible and all of these things and run around and talk like this. And it's time that somebody called him out on it, and I'm glad that the Pope did. Now, here's the thing. Does anybody actually think that this is going to hurt Donald Trump? The correct answer is a no. It's not going to hurt Donald Trump. Because here's the thing. Conservatives hate this Pope. They hate this Pope.
Too liberal.
So, yeah, sure. You can be religious and respect the Pope, but no conservatives like this Pope. They don't like this Pope. He's out there talking about how you don't have to actually believe in God to get to heaven. He's okay with gay people. He yesterday, and like the Barry News alert, he said it's okay for Catholics and people to use contraception if you're trying to avoid the Zika virus. You could use contraception. That's like, if he hadn't called the leading candidate for a Republican nominee for president not a Christian, that would be the biggest story of the day. But I want to hear your comments on this at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Donald Trump has gone to war with the Pope. Can you even believe that sentence? Donald Trump has gone to war with the Pope. Who's going to win this one? You want me to be honest? I think Donald Trump is going to win this one, at least in the eyes of the Republican voters. 866-55-PRESS is my phone number. 866-557-7377. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today. Got a big show coming up. Stay tuned.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper surveillance of the police. The police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper-surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The Bill Press Show. Peter Ogburn sitting in for Bill Press today. Find us on Twitter, won't you? At BP Show. At BP Show. Like the terrifying oil conglomerate BP, except it stands for Bill Press. At BP Show. Find us there. I'm tweeting at Peter Ogburn. But go follow the show first before you go follow me. It's sort of a dumpster fire over there. On my Twitter feed. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm contractually obligated to mention that you should also follow at JBensonDC, Jamie Benson.
This is my one stipulation when I got hired on the Bill Press Show.
Hashtag JamieCam. This guy has started a JamieCam hashtag. I'm not against it, by the way. I just want to be clear about that. But the new camera that focuses on Jamie, look at him. Look at him. Go ahead.
But you know what my
look at him. Yeah.
You know what my middle
Camera's
name is?
getting you right now.
You know what my middle name is?
I don't know what your middle name is.
Cameron.
Trouble?
Cameron.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jamie Cam Camera.
It's actually a little witty.
Get out of here. All right, we're talking about Donald Trump. Here's the thing. He's picked a fight with the Pope. Who's going to win that fight? And if he does survive this fight with the Pope, he's got plenty of other problems. We're going to tell you about those when we come back. 866-55-PRESS. Stay tuned.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi.
How to hit a receiver.
Nice.
The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press. 33 minutes past the hour. There's a lot of stuff going on. It was a busy day yesterday. Between multiple town halls, 3 different Republican candidates, and then a town hall with the 2 Democrats. Plus, there was a great interview with Joe Biden with Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. We're going to try to get to all of this stuff. But for right now, all that stuff aside, we still have this issue of Donald Trump taking on the Pope, His Holiness. And Donald Trump came out and called him disgraceful, all because the Pope said Donald Trump is not, he didn't say this verbatim, but he very, very clearly implied that he does not believe that Donald Trump is a Christian because all Donald Trump does is build walls on the border, and that is not Christian-like behavior. I have to tell you, I think that Donald Trump is going to win this battle because you have to remember that these are not necessarily Republicans or conservative Christians who are voting for Donald Trump. The people who are voting for Donald Trump are Donald Trump supporters, right? There's really no category for these folks. And if I'm being honest, I don't think a lot of these guys much care about the Pope. I don't think they like the Pope. I think they think that the Pope is some liberal plant that Barack Obama had something to do with, right? Like they think that this Pope is, a liberal politician, right?
I will say one tweet Vox brought up from 2013, Donald Trump, actually on Christmas 2013. Quote, the new pope is a humble man, very much like me, which probably explains why I like him so much.
That is the Trumpiest tweet.
How times have changed.
Ever. That is the Trumpiest tweet ever. Donald is calling from the Virgin Islands. Not the Donald, but our Donald. Hey, Donald, what's happening, man?
How you doing?
I'm good, but thanks for calling, dude.
Good. Hey, listen, this thing with the Pope and Donald Trump. The Pope said that anybody that wants to build walls instead of bridges, okay, is not Christian.
Yeah.
Now, Donald Trump decides he wants to, he's talking about building walls, so, hey, it will apply to him. But for him to jump back and want to downplay the Pope, I mean, I don't care if you're not a Roman Catholic, as long as you believe in JC, you understand you should have respect for the people that lead those people who are, say, Roman Catholic. There are those who are other Catholics and so forth. They got their leaders, you know what I mean? And so, like, he's stupid, and he will lose this fight.
Yeah,
he will definitely lose it. And he is like some kid on the playground. I told my wife, I said, if he grew up when I grew up, because I'm 76 years old, right? I said he'd have got beaten up every single day for being one of these brat kids. It's my ball, and if you can't play with me and I can't play with you, I'm going to take my ball home. This is what he is, and people should see him for what he is, and those that follow him, I'm saying, God, I don't have hope for this country. I live in the Virgin Islands, and everybody around me we don't deal with the gun shooting because we're all black down here, governor, police, politicians. You understand? We don't have to deal with that. And, I tell you, I don't understand him at all.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I have to say, I do understand Donald Trump. I disagree with just about every single thing that comes out of his mouth, but I do understand it. And I think you have to have a sort of intimate relationship with the past of this country, the political sort of frustration that a lot of people have in this country. And again, I don't agree with it, but I understand it. And that doesn't mean it's okay. That doesn't mean that that there's a place for it, but it's real, and it's coming from a real place. Donald from the Virgin Islands, always a great call. And by the way, one other just quick point. When I say I think Donald Trump is going to win this battle, I'm talking specifically about the GOP primary, right? I think that this doesn't hurt him in the GOP primary because a lot of his supporters probably hate the Pope anyway. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Rhea calling from Fairview, Pennsylvania. Hello, Rhea.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, my darling. What's your take on this?
I don't think it was fair for the Pope if he did directly accuse Donald Trump of not being a Christian.
Why not?
We don't have any way of knowing whether he's really a Christian or not. There's Christians and there's evil Christians. There's Muslims and evil Muslims, and I don't think the Pope would like it if anybody implied that he was a drug dealer with those 9 pounds that were found on the Pope-mobile. So I'll let it go.
Good,
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. I mean, I will say that there is a weird gray area here of, like, when you say flat out, this person is not a Christian, right? But people have accused the Pope of not being a Christian because he thinks it's okay for gay people to love each other, or that he thinks that it's okay for refugees to find safety in safe lands, right? Like, the Pope gets called out for being not a Christian all the time. But when you really, like, I think it's okay to say he's a bad Christian. Like, to me, that's what got me away from religion to begin with, is seeing all these bad Christians out there. You preach and you preach about things that are good and bad, and you don't practice them on your own time. I think you're being a bad Christian. So I think that might have been better wording. But even still, he's got a legitimate point, I think, in saying you can't run around preaching hate. Let's not forget, because this cycle has been so filled with crazy, demented things that Donald Trump has said. Let's not forget that he said that Mexicans are coming across the border, and most of them are rapists and murderers. And then said, maybe some of them are good guys. Maybe some of these are good folks. Maybe some of the Mexican people are not rapists and murderers. Tammy from Chicago. What's happening, Tammy?
Hi, how are you today?
I'm doing well, my dear. What's your take on this?
My comment on Trump is I think everyone needs to look at the bigger picture. All the headlines are always Trump goes to war with. He's going to war with. You think it's going to be the same when he gets to be the president? It's going to be worse. And then his wars, the stakes are higher. He'll be at war with what country, what company, what this, what that. He's going to bring us down. We're not looking at the overall picture, not the little battles. The operative term is war with. Trump is at war with.
He is an angry man. He is an angry man, and he really does have this idea. Yeah, go ahead.
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
They are scratching the surface instead of the police. It's the police brutality. It's not that needs to be addressed. It's not the people they're attacking. They're attacking everyone. We need to stop looking at the little thing and go to the bigger picture.
Yeah, good call, Tammy. Thank you for the call. I do appreciate it. Yeah, you know, there is something to be said about a man, and let's be honest, it's always a man, who has his set of ideals that he would just will not back off of and will fight for them, right? Like won't listen to anything anybody else has to say. Can't tell him nothing, right? That's Donald Trump. And I do think that that if that's the president of the United States, we're going to find ourselves in more wars than we really want to be in. By the way, we are on Twitter at BP Show. Shout out Edward Tolliver, who just tweeted us. I want to thank the BP Show. Between Jay Benson, D.C., Jamie Benson, and Tuesdays with Igor Volsky, that's too much hotness for one radio show. Look at Jamie. Get that Jamie can fired up. Look at him. Look at him.
Thank
Look
you,
how happy
Edwards.
he is.
Thank you.
This guy. Oh, man. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. Let's go to South Carolina next, shall we? Because a good friend of mine, who I went to high school with, is actually a damn fine reporter from the state in Columbia, South Carolina. She's a politics reporter for the state newspaper. Her name is Jamie Self. We're going to talk to her coming up right after this. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press. Stay tuned.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
A letter to the girl I used to be. Dear Emily, every time I watch baseball, a voice I no longer recognize whispers, Ethan, do you remember? When you were going to be the first girl to play in the Major League Seattle Mariners rally cap. But to be honest, Emily, I don't. Dad told me that like it was someone else's bedtime story. But I do know you had that drive. Didn't let anyone tell you to wear shorts above your knees. Didn't care if boys thought your hair fell on your shoulders just right, but with girls, sleepovers meant the space between your shoulder and hers was a 6-inch fatal territory. The year you turned 11 was the first time you said out loud that you didn't want to live anymore. In therapy, you said you wouldn't make it to 21. On my 21st birthday, I thought about you. You were right. At 19, you started to fade. I tried to cross you out like a line in my memoir I wished I could erase completely. And maybe I'm misunderstanding the definition of death, but even though parts of you still exist, you are not here. Most of my friends have never heard your name until now. I've been trying to write this letter for 6 months. I still can't decide if it should be an apology or not. But now you will never hear Emily Smith announced at a college graduation. Get married. Give birth. When the prescribed testosterone started taking effect, my body stopped producing the potential for new life every month. I thought about your children, how I wanted them too. I let a doctor remove your breasts so that I could stand up straighter. Now, even if I somehow had those children, I wouldn't be able to nourish them. My body is obsolete, scarred cosmetic, but never C-section. I was 4 days late. They will never be grandparents. I was 1 week late. They will never hold their lover's sleeping figure. I was 11 days late. They will never breathe in a sunset and a sunrise in the same night. I was 2 weeks late. They will never learn to jump rope. I was 3 weeks late. They will never shout, "Watch, Mommy, watch me on the slide." I was 2 months late. A piece of us will never wrap their arms around our leg for comfort, but just to keep them from falling down. And I am sorry that this process is so slow, and all you can do is wonder if you ever had a place. You did. You still do. Don't forget that. Yours, Ethan. P.S. I never hated you.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 46 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Bill is out doing that book promotion. Buyer's Remorse is the name of his book. You can go check it out on our website, BillPressShow.com. You can see him all over TV. I don't even know where he is today, for God's sake. Is he? I think he's on CNN at some point.
Is there a debate Saturday?
No, I don't think. No. They got votes tomorrow. Oh, yeah, that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. He's doing the coverage for CNN tomorrow. Because votes are happening tomorrow. The caucuses in Nevada for the Democrats and the GOP primary in my home state of South Carolina. So when I wanted to talk about what was happening on the ground in South Carolina, I turned to a reporter that I started following a while back. Jamie Self is politics reporter for the state newspaper in Columbia, South Carolina. Also, former high school classmate of mine.
All right, Jamie, I want all the stories. I want all the dirt.
There's no dirt.
I know what Peter Ogburn was like in high school.
There's no dirt. There's no dirt. Jamie might remember. Hey, Jamie, how's it going?
Hey, Peter, how's it going? I'm doing well.
It's good. It's good to talk to you after, 20 years now. We get to talk on national TV and radio. This is great.
Yeah, seriously, if we had known we would both end up here, we might have been better friends back then.
Yeah, I know. Real talk, I was a fairly obnoxious conservative back when I was a younger man, right? But mostly because I was just obsessed with radio, and I listened to a ton of, Limbaugh. And so, don't hold it against me.
Surprised your ears didn't fall off.
I've grown up. I've matured like a fine wine. But definitely go follow Jamie on Twitter, Jamie M. Self on Twitter, and read her good work at thestate.com. So, Jamie, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in South Carolina with the Republicans. A new NBC Wall Street Journal Marist poll out this morning. Donald Trump, 28. Ted Cruz, 23, Rubio, 15, Jeb Bush, 13. So it's tightening a little bit, it appears, for Donald Trump in South Carolina.
Sure. And, the narrative here thus far has been that Trump seemed like, no one could take him out at the top. Yeah. He's had a pretty commanding lead over Cruz, and you've seen Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio sort of battling it out for that second place spot. Of course, this is just one poll, and I'm sure we'll have more this afternoon. We'll see what it all averages out to. But I think the question here that I'm hearing is, can Trump win? That seems, pretty likely given the polls. But then also, how big would his lead be? I was told by a GOP insider that, if he wins by 40 points, which is what Newt Gingrich won by in 2012, that could be a pretty big signal that he might actually be the nominee.
Yeah, I still sort of maintain that if Trump wins in South Carolina and it's a double-digit win or a significant win, I think that's it. I think he just sort of runs the table from here on out, and we've got Donald Trump as the Republican nominee. How has his sort of campaign style played in South Carolina? Because for those of us who've covered or have talked about or observed politics, we all know that South Carolina can get awfully nasty, and we as native South Carolinians tend to sort of eat that up. We have a pretty high tolerance for negative campaigning.
Sure. And, just some notes from the ground. I mean, what's happening nationally in Trump rallies is happening here, too. He draws huge crowds. He books A lot of times he'll start with a smaller venue, and then switch, move the venue based on interest in the event. But he will book like a basketball arena or something like that. So he draws a lot of people. People are rambunctious. They yell throughout the rallies, and he eats that up too. So that's kind of the feeling at his rallies. And as far as the campaign turning sort of negative, it's definitely turned negative lately. But, it didn't start in South Carolina. I want to point that out.
Oh, no. Yeah, you're right.
Ted Cruz was accused of doing some things in Iowa to Ben Carson. So the negative stuff was rolling out earlier than South Carolina. But it really has revved up here. I mean, people are being inundated with phone calls. There's been accusations of robocalls. Trump in the last debate said that somebody's been robocalling, telling people that he's not going to be in the primary. So we have that kind of stuff going around for sure.
Okay, so let's talk about the sort of also-rans in the mix. Jeb Bush, right? Like everyone keeps saying Jeb Bush has got to sort of break through at some point. And South Carolina might have been a spot since, to quote Lindsey Graham, I like Bushes, which is what he said when he was stumping for Jeb Bush the other day. South Carolina in the past has been Bush country, right? Like they love George W. Bush. They've been very good to their father, George H.W. But Jeb can't really seem to break through there.
Yeah, I think that Lindsey Graham, he's got a lot of experience running campaigns here, and even his presidential race was pretty traditional. Build the strong coalitions, get a lot of the longtime GOP supporters on board. And a lot of people were with him until he dropped out of the race. And then after he dropped out, Bush had the benefit, if you perceive it that way, of having a lot of Graham's support come over to his campaign. But this campaign it's an odd cycle, and folks are kind of scratching their heads about what's going on. You just don't see the kind of he didn't get the boost, obviously, right? The polling has showed that he did not get the boost. And I think it maybe plays into this narrative of, why are Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump so popular? Bernie's not winning in South Carolina right now in the polls, but they both obviously have this. They're tapping into people's, angers, their anxieties, their ideas about what they want the country to be, not necessarily what they think might be practical. So there's a lot of energy in both of those campaigns. And Bush just hasn't been able to, break out of that lower tier. Really, he's struggled.
Yeah. All right, so last question. We only have about a minute left. Marco Rubio, in just about every poll, continuously is showing up in third place in South Carolina. He's been able to spin that as a win in the previous primaries. Is he going to be able to spin that out of South Carolina if he does show up in third?
I think that's the big question. I mean, he's, and a lot can happen on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
He could end up in second place on Saturday. Who knows? He got the endorsement of Governor Haley. That's a pretty big deal. She's popular here, especially after what happened with the Confederate flag and how she kind of led the effort to bring it down. And Rubio is definitely counting on being the face of the future of the party. He's hoping that will drive more people to the polls. He's courting younger voters in the state. So I guess we'll all see if it pans out on Saturday, but I think he's looking for a pretty big success to kind of give him some momentum going into Super Tuesday.
All right. Jamie Self, political reporter for the state. You definitely want to go follow her on Twitter heading into this weekend and of course, with the Democratic primary coming up as well. Jamie M. Self. Jamie, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. You take care.
Go Green Wave. All right. 54 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogbert, sitting in for Bill Press. Very, very quick break. We'll be right back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and your grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. Will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory toward students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? Just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 57 minutes past the hour. How about this story? So in Oregon, where the Bundy clan has, they finally gave up. They're going in now and cleaning up the mess that they made in the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. Turns out they dug a trench for their duty, and it turns out that they built this duty trench on top of or next to grounds containing sensitive artifacts of the Burns Native American tribe. So literally taking an S on Native Americans in this country. That's the freedom fighters there with the Bundy clan.
This whole thing was just so poorly
a disaster.
handled.
From top to bottom.
Ah, I see what you did there.
Did I did there? Yeah. A total disaster. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number. Coming up next, we're talking more politics with Nikki Schwab from the Daily Mail. Stay tuned. Lots coming up. Peter Ogren in for Bill Press.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right? What if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet.
Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produce the short film you just watched called Aqua Force. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aqua Force going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, top of the second hour of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Bill is out doing that book promotion thing. He's got his book, Buyer's Remorse. Where's his book? I got a copy somewhere. Buyer's Remorse is the name of his book. He's out there pushing that. You can get your copy at BillPressShow.com or in your favorite bookseller. We're tweeting from the show at BP Show, and I'm tweeting at Peter Ogburn. Running the board today is Jamie Benson, who is a little haggard.
I'm a little sleepy.
A little sleepy, huh?
Haggard is mean.
What do you mean? You look fine, clearly. We're getting on. Let me tell you something. Nikki Schwab is in here with us, political reporter for the Daily Mail. We've redone the studio. And Jamie now, you see that little camera? He's got his own cam right up in that mug. Yeah. And let me tell you something. Now that we've done that, the fan mail.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's like One Direction over here.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
People love Jamie. He's even started a little hashtag Jamie Cam.
It's a thing now.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
We get people all the time say how handsome he is. It's a thing, this guy. So I didn't mean you look haggard. You look fine.
Well, there's one demographic that typically says how handsome I am, but we don't have to get into that.
I just want to say
I'm fascinated.
The gay man.
I could see that.
The gay man.
We're in Washington,
Yeah,
you know?
the gay man loves Jamie. The gay man, they love you.
Straight men, loved by gay men.
Straight men loved by gay men. There you go. 866-55-PRESS is our phone number, 866-557-7377. If you call that number, the voice you hear on the other end of the line is that of Ray Rogers, who is standing by to take your calls. And not only are we on the radio, we are also on TV. Free Speech TV on DirecTV and Dish Network, or on the Roku box, and also streaming live video at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKR. All right, Nikki.
Peter.
What's
up?
It's good to see you, by the way. Thank you so much for coming in.
Of course. I'm off the trail. I'm like home for a week. Finally.
Backstory, Nikki's been on the road a lot. We're supposed to hook up in the Shire in New Hampshire.
Yes.
And then we
Shire.
ended up not going. And so it's nice to have you in the studio because you've been on the road a lot.
Yes, and I ended up not wanting to drive back into Manchester in like the snow.
It was a whole thing, right?
It was a whole thing.
I'm kind of like glad we missed some of that, but I'm bummed that we missed it.
I mean, it was very cool. Like my favorite memory is I was in the front of this store in New Hampshire, and like Vernon Supreme, the guy with the beard on his head,
I love that guy.
Walks by with his like little pack of like pony men because his whole thing is with
free
the
ponies for everyone.
Yeah, free ponies for everyone.
His pack of pony men.
Yeah, and I was just like, this is fantastic. Like just the people watching in Manchester downtown a couple days before the the primaries. It's amazing.
It attracts such a. I mean, the Showtime show that Mark Halpert is doing, The Circus,
which I need to actually watch. I think I might be in like the B-roll of some of these scenes.
By the way, that's the best part of this is watching this and seeing all the people we know from the show on this TV show. It's a really well done show. And so, like, you know, it is a total circus.
Yeah.
Like, people
I was
watching.
with those guys like on Super Bowl Sunday, and it was like one of those strange things where you're seeing all these sort of pundits, and then you're like trying to explain like who Bruno Mars is and why Beyonce is like shaking her thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, of course Howard Feynman. Like, this is like, you know, this is what happens during the Super Bowl.
I tell you who you don't have to explain that to is John Kasich.
Oh, he knows.
He knows because at his town hall last night, you got that clip, Jamie? At his town hall last night, he talked about some of the bands that he likes. Here's John Kasich.
Fall Out Boy is one of them. You know, I like Linkin Park and 21 Pilots. You know, Stressed Out. We play that on our bus, but we're not stressed out.
All right, so he has the musical taste of like a horny 15-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Right.
Like my high school classmates.
Yeah.
You know,
like Fall Out Boy
in the late 90s.
Yeah, like angsty, weird. Like, I know of Fall Out Boy. I don't like him.
He went on to say that he's into alternative music.
Alternative.
Yes.
Alternative.
Alt rock.
Yeah, like Fall Out Boy.
Yeah.
Are they even a band anymore?
I think so, yeah.
And Linkin Park is still a band.
Are they?
I actually really liked Linkin Park. There
was a time I liked Linkin Park. There was a time I liked Linkin Park. What's this 21 Pilots? I don't know this. Does anybody know who they are? Do you know who they are?
I don't, but you know the funniest thing is when the transcript came through via CNN, Linkin Park was spelled Lincoln, and so I was like, well, is that another band? Because I was like, there's no way that John Kasich actually likes like the Linkin Park, and I like did some Google just to make sure I could like properly make fun of him on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, there's not another band that I can see that's Linkin Park. Like it is like the Lincoln, Linkin Park.
That is such a hashtag this town story.
Oh, yeah.
He loves Lincoln Park, you know, like Abraham Lincoln. Oh, my
Isn't there Lincoln Park like 3 blocks from here?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, we're not far from a Lincoln Park.
Yeah.
All right. So, Nikki, let's jump right into sort of the politics of the day, because one of the things I've been sort of kicking around here is what could hurt Donald Trump. And he got 2 big issues on his plate that could legitimately hurt him. Personally, I don't think either one of these hurt him. But let's talk about these 2 things, because first of all, he picked a fight with the Pope. I guess the Pope might have picked a fight with him, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Dr. Seuss book, by the way. Pick a Fight with the Pope. Yeah?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I'm a professional. But so the Pope insinuated that Donald Trump is not a Christian because he believes in building walls, like the one he wants to build in Mexico. And Donald Trump, let's get that very first clip, Jamie, where he says the Pope is disgraceful.
For a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful.
All right. Donald Trump, I don't think this hurts him with his people.
No.
What do you think?
Nothing hurts him.
No.
Nothing hurts him.
No. I don't know what it's going to take. I really don't know. I mean, you know, he's got this knack for picking fights with people that he could actually make the argument of why he's right. Like, he could win these things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, not a lot of conservatives love this Pope.
Well, it was really funny because I was watching footage of people in line for the Trump rally as this all was like unfolding. It was on one of the networks yesterday. And, you know, the journalist there was going line, you know, person by person throughout this line being like, so are you, you know, with the Pope or with Donald Trump? And I mean, these, of course, were Trump supporters, but they're like, well, of course we're with Mr. Trump.
Of course.
The Pope should not be questioning his Christianity. Like, that's between he and his God, you know? And it was like, what?
That's crazy
like,
to me.
People were literally just like, yeah, no, Mr. Trump is definitely in the right.
Like, not even a second thought.
It's just, you know, the Pope is clearly wrong. But, you know, if you look back at sort of this Republican Party with this Pope, they haven't had the best relationship because he has called them out for sort of being a little bit anti-immigrant.
Yeah.
He has called them out for global warming.
Yes.
And those are, those are 2 big issues of the Pope's that the Republican Party is not seemingly budging on.
They don't want to go there. Yeah, they don't want to go there. They think
the
Pope. They think the Pope is totally wrong. I do again. I think that this is a winnable fight for Donald Trump. Maybe not in a general election. I think in a general election, it's a real problem. But I think with his conservative base and people who would vote or who are going to vote for him, he can go out there and make the argument of why he's right.
Well, also, someone was noting the fact that South Carolina doesn't actually have that many Catholics compared to a lot of other states.
That's Southern Baptist territory.
Yes.
As a native South Carolinian,
exactly.
This is Southern Baptist territory.
So you're not seeing a ton of Catholic churches as you know Donald Trump is gripping and grinning throughout this state. So that's also kind of helpful.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That actually makes a lot of
if
sense.
he's-
This could help him more than
And I'm trying to think of what states would be sort of more heavily Catholic. Those states now might be an issue for Donald Trump going forward.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe not.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, who knows where this hurts him? I can't think of anywhere. The other thing that sort of came up yesterday, this was at the town hall.
Yeah.
Is Donald Trump has been going around saying that he's been against the Iraq War, or he was against the Iraq War before anybody else. I was very on board. He even sort of repeated in his town hall last night, to which the moderator pushed him on that and said, well, there's really no record of that, and you actually kind of said you were for it. Let's play the clip first from 2002. From 2002, BuzzFeed found this piece of audio from where Donald Trump went on with Howard Stern and talked about invading Iraq.
Are you for invading Iraq?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I
so, I wish it was. I wish the first time it was done correctly.
Reluctantly, but he said, "Yeah, I think so. I think we should go into Iraq." So this idea that he was out there in front of the Iraq War before anybody else is total BS.
I mean, there's no actual record
Yeah.
of him saying that he was anti the invasion.
Yeah,
and
none.
this was directly. It was a couple months before the invasion that he was saying these things.
Yeah.
So it's like, where exactly are you saying that you were before everyone else, sort of anti this
Is that a
war?
problem for him?
I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the sort of
that's the thing,
that's
right?
the big question.
Yeah.
Is that there's been a question mark this entire time that he's been running. Again, if anything will dent him. Because, credibility doesn't really seem to be an issue.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what voters are ever really looking for with Donald Trump. They
Right,
want,
right.
high energy, strength, stamina, someone that will go up against the Chinese and whomever else
Yeah.
and really, show it to them.
Yeah.
We're
No,
America.
that's-
Roar,
that's his thing.
That's his thing. So, I mean, the fact that, the whole thing that was happening with Ted Cruz in this ad this week is also sort of an indicator of that, where, Donald Trump was previously pro-choice.
Yeah.
He's on record saying he's pro-choice. Yes, Ted Cruz sort of selectively cut this ad because if you actually listen to the whole Russert interview, at the very end of it, you sort of hear, again, it's one of these things where, Donald Trump is wavering. He sort of says, well, I kind of hate it. About abortion.
Yeah.
And he can point to that now and say, clearly I was having reservations then. The more and more I thought about it, the more and more I sort of moved over to the pro-life camp. So he's changed these positions. And for many conservatives and many Republicans, that would be a non-starter.
Right.
And it hasn't been for Trump.
What's funny to me, because I was watching this actually in that town hall last night, is, he sent a cease and desist letter to Ted Cruz.
Yes.
And they said to him, they go, "You're not actually going to sue this guy." And he goes, "Maybe not." Like he says, "Maybe not." He goes, "I like letters. I like to send letters."
He likes letters and he likes lawyers.
He goes, "I got a lot of great lawyers. I like my lawyers.
Yeah.
They send some great letters. I like to send letters." And so he's basically saying it's kind of a charade here, but
didn't we all cover it for the last, how many hours?
Yeah, right.
This whole South Carolina primary has been nonstop, Trump brouhahas over, various things, whether it's the Pope or, trying to sue Ted Cruz either over, this ad or his Canadian citizenship or, the list goes on and on and on. This whole thing, you talk about South Carolina politics being a little bit, nastier.
They're nasty.
Nastier than, what we've seen in Iowa and New Hampshire.
Yeah.
But this is a whole, Trump is just, it's a circus right now.
I don't remember the last time that there was a presidential candidate or a presidential debate and one of them literally called the other one a liar.
Yeah.
Just didn't even sugarcoat it. He's not being honest. He's the biggest liar I've ever met in my life. And then Marco Rubio picked up on that too. It's just Ted Cruz lies.
Yeah, and then Trump
nasty.
said that he was able to, in the day that Trump went on his sort of liar fest.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, well, Marco said it first.
Yeah, right.
Because that's what he's done also this entire campaign. He's like, well, I don't hit anybody until they hit me.
Yeah.
And that's the line he used, 8 months ago with Jeb Bush. And it's been low energy ever since.
Yeah.
So, it's really interesting to see how it's all played out.
He's crazy good at just deflecting.
Yeah.
The deflection.
He's great at, sort of media management, right?
Yeah.
He's just the fact that he, heard that the Pope had said these things. And it's funny, I think that he, and and you can go back and check this, sort of admitted last night that he didn't quite even know the whole context of what the Pope had said.
I did. Yeah.
And,
he thinks he got one side of the story, is what he said.
Yeah, and then he basically pulls together this statement and gets to his next event and is just blah blah blah, ISIS, Vatican City, you know, Pope.
He hit them all. He got news cycle bingo.
Yeah,
he hit everything.
Gotta bring ISIS in there.
Yeah,
and then his social media guy was so smart. I mean, you can pretty much call it smart because
it's smart.
He pops up this tweet where it's showing the giant wall around Vatican City.
Yeah.
And it's thou shalt not throw stones in glass houses kind of thing.
Look, I mean, these are all winnable things for Trump. All right, so we got to go to a break here in just a little while. Not quite yet, Jimmy, because I want to ask you really quickly. We got about 2 minutes here before we need to hit a break. Most of the polls in South Carolina show Marco Rubio showing up around third, right?
Yeah.
And he's been able to spin that as a win, right?
Obviously Iowa was third place in a win.
Yeah.
New Hampshire was ooh.
Yeah, not great.
Not great.
But he's sort of been able to win by losing here, a little bit.
Yeah.
So if he comes in third again in South Carolina, what happens to Marco Rubio? Is this still a sort of a 3 or 4 man race? Do these
who
guys
are
all
you
move
thinking
forward?
comes in second?
I think Ted Cruz comes in second.
Well, then then it just becomes a 3-man race.
That's the 3-man.
I think everyone gets
Jeb?
sort of.
Is that it for Jeb?
He's going to stay until Florida because
Do we even need to ask
you're going to
that
want to
question?
compete.
I know. Poor Jeb is just going to stick with it to the end. You know what's going to be sad, though, is when he gets his ass handed to him in Florida.
I know.
That's going to be
embarrassing.
Jeb is so sad and embarrassing anyway. That's going to be the peak. That's the culmination of all the Jeb sadness.
Of all the sad memes of Jeb, looking like he's going to cry.
I came in 4th place in my home state.
Yeah.
Please clap.
We wrote about that, and I think it got shared more than anything else I'd written in a month.
He's the saddest guy ever.
Please clap video.
You know what he looks like? I tweeted this yesterday. He looks like, all the time, he looks like one of those substitute teachers that you have that loses the class almost immediately and can't get control of the situation. That's Jeb all the time. He looks just frustrated and resigned. He even had a town hall the other day that the headline was it turned into an intervention where his supporters were please fix your campaign.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think we can all agree, though, we're going to be pretty sad when he leaves.
I'll be sad.
He's provided me so much entertainment.
Yeah, I'll be sad when Jeb leaves.
Jeb! Exclamation mark.
Jeb! Yeah. All right. 22 minutes past the hour. Nikki Schwab is in studio with me. Lots more to talk about. She is the political reporter for Daily Mail. You can read her great work at Daily Mail. Is it dailymail.com? I can say dailymail.com.
Yeah, that works. That
okay,
works.
all right, dailymail.com. Check it out. And follow her on Twitter at Nikki Schwab. That's Nikki with 2 Ks, Nikki Schwab. We're going to take a very quick break. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is the story of my grandfather. When I was 19 years old, his right hand was crushed in a printing press. He was supposed to lose the hand, but a young doctor saved it just in time for the war. This is the story of the war. My grandfather repaired tanks. Behind the front lines, away from the cameras, he would pull pieces of dead men from the machines and send the machines back out to the field. This is the story of the war a decade later. Back then, you didn't talk about depression. There was no such thing as PTSD. When my uncle, age 7, asked him who won the war, my grandfather said, nobody. This is the story of my grandfather, the machinist. I have a newspaper from 1981, a story about the Nobel Prize for Physics, a photograph of the winner, a Harvard man standing by his machines. This man is not my grandfather. Beneath the photo, my grandfather has written, I designed and built almost everything in this picture. They worked together for 10 years, but my grandmother says the physicist never even remembered his name. If you asked that Harvard man, there would be no story of my grandfather, just a pair of disembodied hands. This is the problem with stories. They have to leave something out. The editor cuts a line and someone's face fades. The editor says 200 words or less and suddenly a whole family goes missing. The spotlight isn't about the light. It's how it makes everything around it dark. My grandfather's face is erased from every story. The machines survive, but the man who made them doesn't. The machines make the photo, but their maker is out of frame. But we choose where to point the camera. We can choose how to tell the story. We can choose which clothing the hero wears. I could tell you this is a story about a soldier, or I could tell you this is a story about the blue-collar man, but really, this is just the story of my grandfather. I did not know him. I was born too late, but my family tells me his name. Alfred Franzosa. I know that name might only live in this moment, that there are other stories with greater stakes, but still, I will tell you his name. I will repair this old machine. I will let my grandfather live again because I could not know him while he was living. Once, when he was younger than I am now, his right hand was crushed by a printing press, crushed by other people's stories. When it healed, he began to build. He used his hands to build tanks and his hands to build cradles. His hands were the last thing to touch dead soldiers and the first to touch his newborn sons. He built a good family, and that family built me, and now I use my hands to build his story. The story is not a eulogy. A eulogy seals the casket. A eulogy lets no air out. This story is a resurrection. Jesus was not resurrected by God. He was brought back by the people who told his stories. It does not take a miracle to raise the dead, to leave behind the tombstone and take the name with you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Peter Ogburn in for Bill Press, joined by Nikki Schwab, political reporter for the Daily Mail, in studio. We've only got like 90 seconds left, so let's really quickly hit on the Democrats. Big weekend coming up, Nevada, Hillary,
Nevada,
Bernie.
Very close.
Yeah, I know. Everyone corrects me because I say Nevada. It is Nevada. You're right.
Oh, I mean, I'm from Pennsylvania. I don't even.
I caught a hot
know.
correction on that the other day. It's Nevada, not Nevada. How's that going to play out? And what does it mean if Bernie actually wins there?
I mean, I think that as long as Hillary Clinton can really, really, really win in South Carolina, she's going to try to shove that under the rug, right? But she should win.
Yeah.
I mean, and her whole argument for being against Bernie and having sort of these not so great voter situations in Iowa and New Hampshire is that those states aren't representative of the full Democratic coalition, Latino voters, African American voters. And she's got to kind of prove that that's true at some point, correct?
Yeah, she really has to turn this into something. And if she has a not great outing in Nevada, and she doesn't win by
I mean, I think she's going to eke it out.
In South Carolina. I think she'll be okay.
And then I think she's going to win double digits in South Carolina, and then she's got to look pretty confident going into Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
But, who knows? I mean, it's,
this could go a while. This could go a while.
This could go a while.
Yeah.
I do think she'll end up being the nominee.
I kind of do, too.
Because I think that Democrats are going to have to coalesce around someone who can, I think the more and more they see what's going on the Republican side, and it's nothing against Bernie.
Sure.
I think Bernie is a fantastic politician.
Yeah, he's brought something out in people.
And he's, and I think that, his rhetoric and what he's sort of inspired is going to keep going.
Yeah, I think so, too.
But
all right, gotta run.
Hillary it is.
Hillary it is. All right, Nikki Schwab, political reporter for the Daily Mail. Follow her on Twitter at Nikki Schwab. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons. for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TawkrTV. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 33 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press today while Bill is out doing book promotion. His new book, Buyer's Remorse, is out there right now. So when I host the show, one of the things I often say that I do is I can't do the show by myself, so I bring in wonderful people to come in and help me do the show, not unlike the way that a donut fills an empty, vacuous space with wonderful goodness. So today, I am really happy to bring in Clara Raker. She's director and producer of The Great American Cooking Story. So, Clara, I want to first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you for having me.
So I first of all want to talk about, what your series is all about. You can find it at clararicker.com. And you've got a YouTube channel where you've got all your episodes up there. And how to explain what this series is.
Sure, yeah. So it's a 6-episode series that documents the role of restaurants in revitalizing neighborhoods. So what I did is I traveled across the country for 10 days on a train. And in every city where the train stopped, I went and I visited one revitalizing neighborhood and interviewed chefs and restaurant owners in that neighborhood, sort of about the impact that their food is having on their communities.
I'm so jealous of this because this is like the greatest thing, right? This is like so in my wheelhouse. And you started on the West Coast and worked your way back to DC on a train, which is awesome. And it like to me, food is like you can tell so many stories with food, right? Like I do a lot of food writing outside of the Bill Press Show. And I grew up in the South, to me, where food is such a big story and also such a big part of the culture because, just dealing with the South in particular, it's one of the things we don't want to talk about is how all this Southern food that everybody loves is really, it's black food. It's food that the slaves cooked because, they brought their cooking traditions over with them, and now it's sort of become ingrained in this Southern thing. So, like, the food stories go back so far, and you go to all these different cities where food plays such a big role. You started out in Los Angeles.
Right.
What did you find there?
So the trip itself was interesting because for the most part, the trip was across the South, sort of with the exception of Los Angeles, which is where I started. But the funny thing about the Los Angeles episode is that there's still a Southern story in the episode. It's about this guy who grew up in New Orleans, who came to LA and loves LA and wants to live in LA, but wants to bring his food, New Orleans-style food, to Los Angeles. So he's one of the two characters in the episode. And basically, what I did is I went to Chinatown because what's interesting to me is how much these neighborhoods are changing through food. And it's like when you think of Chinatown, you think of Chinese food. And LA's Chinatown is no longer Chinese. That's the story. And so, there's New Orleans style food, there's Thai food, there's Korean food, there's Mexican fusion, there's everything but Chinese food almost in Chinatown.
It's funny because I think a lot of what your stories focus on have to do with the big picture of gentrification.
Yeah.
Right? And when you're talking about gentrification, usually one of the big leading indicators that something is being gentrified are the restaurants, right? Like what kind of restaurants are coming in and what kind of clientele are going into those restaurants. So it's almost like an immediate sort of gauge of what the neighborhood is like by looking at the food there, right?
And that was what I wanted to do too, was it's a food and travel series, right? But it's so much more than that. It adds this sort of social angle to it where you really examine what is the effect that these restaurants are really having on these neighborhoods. And I think one of the interesting things about the New Orleans episode, when I sort of started making my way across the South, as you're talking about earlier, the historical food of the South was made by black people.
Yeah.
And in the New Orleans episode, basically what happened with New Orleans is so many people were forced to move out after Katrina. And so new people were coming in, and some people returned, but not everyone returned. And so New Orleans sort of, by virtue of Hurricane Katrina, had its own sort of gentrification, revitalization issue where it was not going to be New Orleans and New Orleans style food anymore.
Isn't that fascinating?
It's right, and it's like that needs to be preserved in some way.
Yeah.
And so one of the chefs I talked to in that episode was a black woman who left New Orleans after Katrina and came back, and she came back because she was committed to making New Orleans style food.
That just makes me so happy, right? Because there's a fine line between like intensity and insanity, right? But it's just such an intense love of her background and her culture. And you see that sort of play out across all of your episodes, right? There's somebody in there who is not interested in doing it for the money. They're not interested in doing it to get on TV. They're interested because it means something to them. And I got around to watching your Washington, D.C. episode yesterday, and it was so cool to see somebody put into words like this sort of sense of place, right? Like we're not in this to become like the fine dining establishment. We want to serve this particular small community within Washington, D.C. And so you have these like little pockets, right?
Yeah.
And these restaurants are just like the community hub, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's the funny thing too, is if you think about it, it's just good business for the restaurants to be bringing in as many different people as they possibly can to their restaurant. And so for them, it's like, if they can find a way to provide something at a price point that everyone can afford, and if they can become the community meeting spot, that's good business for them as well.
There's a great story from the DC episode where one of the guys, I think this was one at DC Reynolds, where he talks about how a guy will walk in with like a rake, right? Because he knows he's going to see the guy at the bar that he borrowed the rake from last week. So it's just sort of like, I can come over to your house and give you your rake back. It's just meet at the bar. We'll have a drink, and I'll give you your rake back.
Shout out DC Reynolds, by the way.
I've never been, by the way. Have you been?
I don't go enough. I live semi-close to there, but I love that bar. And their food is, like, remarkably good.
That's what he was saying, right? Like, that's a whole big thing about how they, like... For that episode, it was a lot more about community than the food, but the food played a really big part.
Yeah, because that's sort of a theme throughout a lot of the episodes, is that, I picked places that I knew had good food, because it's like, why elevate a place unless it's got good food, right? And a lot of the folks talked about how it's like, the people of this community, the people who were always here, deserve good food too.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And so shout out to DC Reynolds, and Petworth Citizen was also in the episode.
That was the other one that was on the episode.
So, yeah.
You, a couple of places, so all the cities that you hit, Los Angeles, Austin, San Antonio, New Orleans, Atlanta, and Washington, D.C. Austin and San Antonio are pretty close to each other.
Yeah.
I actually lived in San Antonio for a little while, so I know a little bit about San Antonio. But the difference in culture between the two places, it's like 45 minutes away by car?
Yeah, something like that.
And it's they're like worlds away, right?
Yeah.
Like it's worlds apart how those cultures function. So sort of tell me what you found in each of those cities.
Yeah.
And how different the food is there and how it sort of plays into it.
Definitely. Austin, and maybe this is a product of South by Southwest, with South by Southwest came the food trucks, and the food trucks have sort of defined the city now. But with Austin, you're just you're getting this this revolution of all different types of food available to you through food trucks. Austin is much more barbecue than San Antonio was, that I found it at least. And the story that I sort of documented in Austin was a little bit different than, all the episodes are a little bit different from each other. And that one was particularly different because I did 2 neighborhoods as opposed to 1. And what I was sort of documenting was how 2 different neighborhoods have sort of revitalized at different paces because of their location, because of where the neighborhoods are located in the city. The dividing line of the highway for I-35 in Austin has made it so that it's hard for people to sort of get across it. Where it was East Austin was historically where minorities lived. And so that has revitalized at a much slower pace than West Austin, which is close to downtown, close to UT Austin, close to, the city buildings. So that was sort of the interesting story about Austin. And then San Antonio, the neighborhood I went there, was an interestingly similar story in the sense that it was East San Antonio.
Across the tracks, yeah.
Across the tracks, where the minorities historically lived. A forgotten about neighborhood. And the interesting thing about that, though, is that was the first Promise Zone neighborhood to be given access to federal revitalization grant money.
Tell me a little bit about that, because you get into that in your story.
Yeah, so President Obama and HUD Secretary Julian Castro, who's from San Antonio.
Yes, indeed.
They sort of launched this new initiative to make federal grant money available to different pockets of the United States for revitalization efforts. And so what it does is it makes money available to like nonprofits and other organizations, and I think even the city itself, to sort of spend and give to folks who are going to be rebuilding these areas. And so I wanted to sort of examine how that money was sort of affecting the neighborhood and drawing in restaurants, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the interesting story there was that it's not quite there yet. And I think when you watch it, you're just sort of going to be, when you watch the episode, you just sort of see like how behind this neighborhood looks in its revitalization compared to all of the other neighborhoods. There's just not, the houses are still run down. The streets are still, there's not a lot of construction yet. And the restaurant owners are hurting. They talked about, we don't get this, we're not getting this money. And we could use it, but we're not getting it.
That's fascinating to me. It really is. It's a great piece. We have to take a quick break.
Sure.
But do go check it out. ClaraRitker.com. The Great American Cooking Story is the name of her series. By the way, it's really super bingeable, if that's your thing, right? Like binge watching. You just burn through all 6 episodes, and they're phenomenal. They're very well done. That's my guest who is with me, Clara Ritker. You can follow her on Twitter at Clara Ritker, CLARA Ritker. Check her out. And check out our website, ClaraRitker.com. We'll talk more with you when we come back. Very quick break. Peter Ogburn in for Bill Press.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue, dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
Minutes past the hour. Stick around because in the next hour, Roger Gastman, director and producer of Wall Riders, Graffiti in its Innocence is going to be in studio. We're going to talk about graffiti. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be an awesome conversation. Roger's a real character. He's been around for a while covering like the whole graffiti thing, and I love talking about it. And then Eric Bruner Yang from Toki Underground and Makedo is going to be in studio in the next hour as well. He's going to bring us some breakfast.
Why didn't we coincide with times here?
I mean, we do have a couple of Dunkin' Donuts out there, which I haven't even touched yet because I'm waiting for Makedo to be here with some pastries.
Clara, you got to eat all those donuts so Peter doesn't get his hands on them.
Look, I'm waiting for Eric to be bringing in some snacks in about less than an hour now.
I'm going to intercept Eric. And then all you will be
gonna
left
wait
with.
for him. Yeah.
No.
Where's Eric? I don't know. We just saw Clara just shove him into the back of a car, and she took off. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah. So we got still a lot of good show left. So make sure you stay with us. Okay. So Clara, I want to ask you your Great American Cooking story. You can find it at ClaraRitker.com. Like I mentioned, you go to all these great food cities and sort of explain how the food is changing the dynamic in these cities. During the break, we were talking about places that have become really big food destinations that we would normally not think about going to. Pittsburgh has become this great food town, which 4 years ago, we would have never thought that. Detroit, even, Detroit. Is like there's a really big food scene. But, when you hear people talking about what's happening there, it really all does come back to, local boy or girl makes good, right? Like they're there. They want to see their community do better. They've invested their life's work into like making their community better, which is a theme across your series, I think.
Yeah.
Making the community better.
Absolutely. And that's something that was really, inspiring about it to capture that on video was really neat. One of the things that the San Antonio chef, David Arciniega, told me was, people come in here all the time to ask me about my food, but no one ever comes in here to talk to me about what I think about our community.
Yeah.
And and he was like, I really appreciated getting to sort of share my thoughts about that with
Isn't that
you.
interesting?
And that was cool because it's like we forget, we silo people so often, especially in the press, right? It's
totally.
Like, oh, you're the expert on this and you're, and it's interesting, they're members of the community too. Of course they care about the community and want to talk about how it's changing and how they feel about that. So that's a neat thing about the show.
To the extreme, when you talk about in D.C., the owner of Petworth Citizens opening up a new spot.
Sure, yeah.
And how he went about making sure he had a place that people wanted to come to. I've never heard of anything like this.
Oh my God, yeah. He surveyed the community. Like they've sent out like 800 surveys about like the types of chairs they wanted in the place, what type of food they wanted to have served. It was totally bananas when he was telling me.
That's hilarious to me.
Yeah. Especially because he didn't need to do that.
Right.
Like, so the owner of Petworth Citizen is also the owner of Crane and Turtle. And I think a handful of other spots. Yeah.
It's
like
really good.
on the block. So, he's a successful restaurateur. Like whatever he opens is going to do well. So it was cool that he sort of saw, Crane and Turtle's kind of fancy. Petworth Citizen is a little more accessible from a price point perspective, but not completely. And the new place is Slim's Diner. Like, you can just tell from the name. It's accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted a family place, like a place everyone could afford to eat. And so that was something that I think came out of the surveys.
That's so interesting because, when you, like, again, when we talk about gentrification, you talk about a lot of young families, starter homes, right? Like, they're finding their very first house that they're going to buy in an up-and-coming neighborhood. And a lot of these gentrification stories center around like a fine dining restaurant or a destination, and you can't go do that with a young family, right? So like a diner in a place like that is a gold mine.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's nice. It's nice because it's welcoming to everybody. Everyone can eat at a diner.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool, about it.
Follow her on Twitter at Clara Ritker and check out her website, ClaraRitker.com. It's the Great American Cooking Story. Takes a look at how food plays a role in changing our society, and it's just really, really fantastic. So, Claire, thank you for coming in. I'm glad we can get you in here.
Thanks for having me, and hopefully there'll be a season 2.
I'm so excited for season 2, and when it happens or even comes close to becoming a reality, let me know, because I'm so there for it. It's phenomenal. Go watch it, ClaraRitker.com. My name is Peter Ogburn. I'm sitting in for Bill Press. We'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
you wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
For Mike Brown. I'm sick of writing this poem, but bring the boy. His new name, his same old body, ordinary black dead thing, bring him. And we will mourn until we forget what we are mourning. And isn't that what being black is about? Not the joy of it, but the feeling when you're looking at your child, turn your head, then poof, no more child. That feeling, that's black. Think, once a white girl was kidnapped and that's the Trojan War. Later, up the block, Troy got shot and that was Tuesday. Are we not worthy of a city of ash, of 1,000 ships launched because we are missed? I demand a war to bring the black boy back no matter what his name is this time. I at least demand a song. A song will do. Or a head.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show, 57 minutes past the hour. Sun is up in Washington, D.C. I can tell because of the backdrop at our new studio. Check it out at youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV is where we're streaming live video. By the way, Jeb Bush continues to try and move somewhere in the polls other than down. He's trying it in South Carolina. Jeb! With an exclamation point. Yesterday he talked about his brother George W. and his paintings, right? We think they're weird. Jeb kind of agrees.
Brother paints now? What? That's really weird. Has he painted I still you? Haven't quite. No. I'm waiting for the primitive era to be finished.
Yeah, his paintings are weird. Like, they are legit weird.
I think there's one of him in a bathtub, if I
it's
recall
like his
correctly.
feet in the bathtub and then like the mirror at the end of his face.
And it's either cats or dogs that he's really...
I think he did the dog, right?
Really, like, obsessed with painting.
Maybe it's the cat.
It might be dogs. I think it's dogs.
Hey, speaking of artwork, we're going to talk about it at the top of the next hour with Roger Gastman. He is with Wall Writers. Graffiti in Its Innocence is the name of the movie. He's the director and producer. Stay tuned. Talking to him next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts just stick with me in the middle of the night, and I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond, and this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River, and we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention, but the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
Some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together, and it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
Technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
We began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all, and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this. Because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money and judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 6 minutes past the hour on a Friday, February 19th. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today while he is out doing some book promotion for his new book, Buyer's Remorse. So you got me for one more hour here. If you're watching the show, which you can do on youtube.com/TawkrTV or Free Speech TV, you are doing so because of the great work of Cyprian Bolding, who is running our cameras, keeping our studio looking decent anyway. He's got a lot to work with me, right? Like, he's got his work cut out for him. I got to bed late last night. Went to a dumb Wizards game. It was good. It was good, though. They got a win.
They won.
A rare win for the Wizards. Jamie Benson is running the board in there.
Good morning, Peter.
Hello, Jamie. Lots of Jamie mail this morning. We got the Jamie Cam, don't forget, now that we've redone the whole thing. The whole studio. And Ray Rogers is taking your calls at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. I'm super happy to bring in a couple guys to talk a little bit about graffiti. Roger Gassman, who has been here before, is the director and producer of Wall Riders, Graffiti in Its Innocence. He joins me in studio. Hey, Roger, how you doing, man?
Hello, I'm good. Thanks
good
for
to see you.
us.
Good to see you. And we are also joined by Henry161, a graffiti artist in studio. Thanks for coming in, Henry.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it, guys. We're going to jump right into the new movie here in just a moment. But first, Jamie's got a couple stories here.
This is the Full Court Press.
What you got?
Just a couple of other stories for you on this Friday morning. History could be made at Johns Hopkins University in the next couple of weeks. We could see the first penis transplant in the United States.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Seriously. A U.S. soldier who was wounded in an explosion in Afghanistan could be the first recipient of a penis transplant in America, which could open up.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. Could open up the way for about 60 other servicemen with general injuries to have this surgery. What will happen here is they'll join the nerves and the blood vessels under a microscope. He'll be able to have full function of his member, including urination, sensation, and sex. So the surgery could occur in the coming weeks. Doctors are looking for a donor who is a good match in terms of age.
We can rebuild him. We can make him stronger.
So we need same age. What else do you think we need here as a match?
Oh.
Skin color.
Oh. I don't know, man.
Very important.
It might not be a bad idea to, hit the upgrade button if you're going to go in, like... Why not get the perfect one? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Speaking of skin color, Rachel Dolezal is back in the news once again.
Congratulations.
Yep. Congratulations, actually, to Rachel Dolezal, because she gave birth to her third son this week. She bestowed a name with strong roots onto him. Any guesses of what Rachel Dolezal may have named her son?
She named him after Martin Luther King.
Very close.
Really?
Very, very close.
Who did she name him after?
The name of Rachel Dolezal's third son is Langston Atticus Dolezal.
Oh, she named him after Langston Hughes.
Well, we don't know where the Atticus comes from. It's a different spelling of Atticus.
Cyprian's yelling, Crispus Attucks.
Crispus Attucks is...
Crispus Attucks, that might be it.
Yeah, is one idea there. Or Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird.
It's got to be Crispus Attucks, right? She's
pretty deep.
Fully embraced her identity. All right.
Yikes. And finally, McDonald's is back in the news once again. I feel like we read one of these stories once a week. You might like this, Peter. I
won't.
This is all right.
Go ahead.
11 McDonald's locations in the state of Ohio are testing out a new menu item at McDonald's. It's called the Chicken McGriddle. So you guys know they already have the McGriddle with the maple syrup patties. Not a fan, personally. I think I'd be more open to the chicken on that patty than I am the bacon or the sausage.
So it's like pancake buns with fried chicken in the middle?
Maple syrup infused pancake buns.
Absolutely not.
With chicken in the middle. This has actually been on McDonald's secret
menu. I love
menu.
fried chicken and I love pancakes.
This has been on McDonald's secret menu for a while, but McDonald's is finally officially testing it. We could see it added to the menu officially nationwide.
Hardest of passes. I'm going to skip that one. But thank you for bringing that story to us. James mentioned all the stories we don't have time to get to here on the show. All right, so Roger and Henry. Roger, I want to jump in with you first to talk a little bit about the movie Wall Riders, which, by the way, nobody knows more about graffiti and the history than Roger Gassman, and he's done a couple of phenomenal books on it, and this one is a gorgeous book, Wall Riders, Graffiti in Its Innocence. It's a big book. It's a lot of great stories in here, a lot of great photos. Talk to me a little bit about now how graffiti has in some ways sort of gone mainstream. You know, when you see guys like Banksy and other guys out there who've sort of turned it into this huge thing, right? Like, before those guys, there were real guys out there doing it, and it wasn't really a business. It was something else.
We're not going to talk more about the penis transplant?
Got to keep that story rolling.
Yeah, let's keep going with that.
Let's talk about that. That's much more interesting. Graffiti, I feel it's safe to say, is $1 billion industry at this point.
Yeah.
From the brands that are involved with it, to the artworks that sell, to Justin Bieber's album cover, etc. It's gone mainstream. It's been mainstream. It's a huge culture in itself that has spawned countless countercultures coming off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of it being the sub-counterculture, it's there. It's arrived. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
What I've spent a lot of my past several years doing is digging up the true history of graffiti in various cities, from Cleveland, Ohio, to Pittsburgh, to Washington, D.C., etc. You know, who are the people that really started it and how did it start? And that led me, while we were working on the book, The History of American Graffiti, several years back, talking to a lot of the guys in New York and a lot of the guys in Philly that I knew really started it. But everybody was kind of full of crap. They would say, I started this then. You do the math, they were 4 years old. Or it just really wasn't realistic of what they were doing. Luckily, I ran into a good group of people that actually had been there, and maybe their timeline's off here or there by 3 months, but it's not off by 4 years.
Right.
And it's hard to remember what you did back then, give or take 3 months.
Sure.
So that's okay. But these guys were so important. A lot of them hadn't talked about it or thought about it in 30, 35, some even maybe 40 years. It was a different time in their life. They were 14, 15, 16 years old. A lot of them, by the time high school was over, they were done with it. They were the guys that did the first crown next to their tag, the first guys that did the first arrows. You know, it was very, in a way, elementary school handwriting with a little bit of style to it, and more style got added and more style got added. And this is how we end up where we are today. When you talk about the all-stars that have come out of this movement, you mentioned the Banksy and other people like that through the years, these are the guys that those people want to meet, and I don't want to say bow down to, but, you know, offer and just give so much.
Kiss the ring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They were there. They did it. And most of the people from this culture, some of them stayed artists and, you know, kept going, but they moved on. Life was life.
You talk about sort of why people get into it, right? Henry, I want to ask you, as a graffiti artist, as a graffiti writer, how'd you get into it? Or why'd you get into it? What drew you to it?
Well, we were juveniles.
Yeah.
We was hanging out on the streets, and it was just something we started by. Tacky 183 was actually the one that really kind of got us going. We used to see his name everywhere, so then we figured that's a way of marking your territory.
Hold on, to interrupt, this is 1970 in New York City.
This is 1970.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and
so you didn't do Justin Bieber's album cover? Is that what you're telling me? You weren't in it for the millions, right?
No, not at all. We was just in it because it was a fun thing to do. It gave us something to do outside of just hanging out, sitting down.
Yeah.
We would get on the trains and spend our school days. Instead of being at school, we would be on the trains, riding up and down, just marking as many trains as you could.
You talk about territory, right? Marking your territory. Is that sort of a sort of a sense of pride, right? To see your name out there. Is that the sort of the driving force for that?
Yes, it was. It was back then. It was. The more you get your name out there, the more people would know you. Then that would just give you a sense of pride.
Yeah.
That you're achieving something.
The movie is called Wall Riders. And by the way, if you're in the D.C. area tonight at 7 o'clock at the AFI Theater in Silver Spring, just outside of D.C., it's the best movie theater in the area. It's my favorite movie theater, maybe of all time. I love the AFI. So if you're anywhere close to D.C., really come and check it out. They're going to be doing the screening tonight, 7 o'clock at AFI Theater. Tell me, Roger, a little bit more about sort of your sort of archiving for this movie, right? Because you, more than just about anybody, know the history, know the people, know the players of how this all sort of became a movement and sort of the culmination of all this into this vision of this movie.
It was a lot of digging for years and years. When I started meeting these people, we thought, well, let's start filming them. We didn't have the idea if we're going to make a full-length documentary one day. I'd heard Henry's name. I never thought I was going to meet Henry. Nobody had even really talked to Henry in a while. I wouldn't say Henry was a ghost, but, in a way, Henry was a ghost. He was a legend for some other things that had happened.
And by the way, that's kind of the point of a lot of this, of these graffiti writers, right? Like they don't necessarily, they vanish. They just go away, right? They're just done with it. And that's it.
We were filming people, and, Taki would turn us on to a couple people. Snake turned me on to Mike and SJK, who he hadn't seen in 30 years, that he ran into on the street. They turned me on to Henry. I mean, it just kept spinning into more and more people. Through that, somebody had 3 photos. Somebody had a photo album. Somebody had a friend that had some Super 8 footage. Countless hours of digging in public archives, looking up things like school playgrounds, buses, just search terms that had nothing to do with graffiti. But if you're looking at photos from the early 70s, you're going to find a lot of these things, just by default. So it was just digging. This project we probably dug for about 7 years.
Holy cow.
We edited the film about 3 different times, just trying to get it where we really liked it. And, it tells the story, 1967 to 1973, the true birth of graffiti as you know it today. Started in Philadelphia, started in New York. They can argue back and forth forever about who really started it. It is a fact that there was a bigger graffiti problem in Philadelphia early on than there was in New York City, but New York City definitely took the keys and ran with it. But it really goes back to people like Henry and his contemporaries then in New York that were making a name for themselves. They were the guys, putting a crown on something. They were the guys hanging out in the corner. They had the Vietnam War to contend with, everything else. They're out there on the streets being kids, making names for themselves.
Henry, let me ask you a question because, I get to New York every now and then. You definitely see graffiti in New York still, but it's no longer the situation where trains will come by just completely covered in graffiti. You miss that?
Yes, I do miss it, but I don't live in New York anymore.
Right.
I live in California, and what I can say is that Rudy Giuliani came in and he really cleaned the city up.
Yeah, it's a totally different place.
And he cleaned graffiti gangs, just the whole criminal lifestyle.
How do you feel about that? Do you have like a sort of romanticized relationship with that grittier New York, that grittier way of life, or how does that strike you?
Well, I mean, it was an exciting lifestyle for me when I was younger. You know, it kind of gets you pumped up, and but I couldn't. I just got tired of it. As you get older and you start doing that time behind those walls, you start to figure it out.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear you put it that way. Where did it sort of take you in terms of when you began with graffiti writing, and sort of what was your sort of movement through it?
It's hard to say, you know, because I went through so many stages, you know, and when I let the graffiti go, I let it go.
Yeah.
But Henry was a part of one of the first graffiti collectives that ever showed their art publicly and sold art, which is so important. A lot of people think graffiti and street art gets a dollar value added to it with the hip-hop movement in the early 80s. Henry was one of the first people in that movement in 1973.
Yeah, there was a guy that came looking for us, and is it okay if I said it? Hugo Martinez. He was he was in college, and he came around looking for Henry, and he found me. So he explained to me what he wanted to do, and how can he meet other writers. So I started to introduce him to the writers, Snake, Mike 171 Jack, you know, and I can go on. And we formed the club, and we named it United Graffiti Artists. So to me, now that I'm older, I see it as what he did was he took a bunch of kids off the street and gave them somewhere that they can go and do their artwork and keep them away from committing other crimes.
Sure.
I didn't see it that way at that age. When I was that age, I seen it as, wow, this is cool, man. We got somewhere we can go and paint. But as things got bigger and bigger, we did the Joffrey Ballet. And in the background, we were doing the graffiti. And it just started to grow. But Hugo was taking a lot of money, getting a lot of money, and he wasn't doing the right thing, you know.
That sucks. Yeah.
So one thing led to another, and being that I was a graffiti gangster, I had asked him if he can give me $10 so I can take my girlfriend to a dance, and he told me no. And I'm like, but wait a minute, I'm watching you make all this money, and you're buying spray cans and markers, and you can't give me $10? And so I turned around, I went and got my gang, I came back, and I destroyed the place. So then he wanted to bring other writers in from other parts of the city.
Yeah.
And that's when I told him, I said, no, you know, if you're going to bring writers from other parts of the city, this is Manhattan, this is the Heights area. You're not bringing people from the Bronx here or from Brooklyn. So he went and he took his project somewhere else, and he started to get all these other writers. But by that time, I already had been out of the club.
And then it just sort of boomed.
And he
from
just
there, yeah.
spiraled out of control with this and made a ton of money, and I don't know whatever happened to him.
Jeez. All right, 22 minutes past there. We're right up against a break. We're talking to Roger Gassman, director and producer of Wall Riders, Graffiti in Its Innocence. There you can see the movie in the Washington, D.C. area tonight at 7 o'clock. The AFI Theater, just outside of D.C., just over the line. And check out this book. This is a badass book, man. Wall Riders, Graffiti in Its Innocence. And we're talking to Henry 161, graffiti writer, both in studio for one more quick segment when we come back. Stay tuned.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. all the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police, without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper surveillance of the police. The police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
This is the Bill Press Show.
27 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. I am joined by Roger Gassman, director and producer of Wall Riders, Graffiti in Its Innocence, and Henry 161, graffiti writer, legend, documented in the book. There's some great stuff in here, by the way, that just shows some of where Henry came from. As he says it, he started being a gangster, but a graffiti gangster. And there's some really cool stuff in here about what you've done in New York. So I appreciate you both coming in. Real quick, if you're in the D.C. area, 7 o'clock tonight, the AFI Silver Theater in Silver Spring. It's the best theater. It's my favorite theater maybe ever. But tonight, 7 o'clock, you could go check it out. Movie's not even going to be released until the summer, so this is an early screening, and you can meet everybody, right? A lot of these guys are going to be there tonight.
We're going to have most of the cast from the film. There are people in from all over the country. Meet them. They'll sign books. We're signing posters, all kinds of things.
So when you hear about like all these graffiti writers who have turned it into millions of dollars now, right? And they all want to meet these guys. You could just do it by showing up at the AFI Silver tonight.
Exactly.
That'd be pretty cool. All right. Wall Riders is the name of the movie, Graffiti in Its Innocence, and also this really sick book. Roger Gassman, director and producer. Thanks for coming in, man.
Thank you.
Follow Roger on Twitter at Roger Gassman and Henry161. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you coming in.
Same here. Thank you.
Good luck with the movie, guys. I appreciate it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TawkrTV. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is The Bill Press Show, 33 minutes past the hour. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And while Bill is gone, I get to talk about stuff I want to talk about.
Hey, Peter, before we go any further.
Yeah, go ahead.
Our listeners on the radio won't be able to
Pause.
see this. But
Jamie Cam in full effect right now.
You look cute.
Jamie Cam.
No. I don't think you understand, Peter. Eric and I can see what's going on, but there's a handsome young man right behind
I see
you.
the reflection in my. Yeah, look at this guy. Oh, look at the heart on it.
It's like a kiss cam.
Here's the thing, Eric. Eric Bruno Yang is our guest. He's a chef, owner of really some of my favorite places here in DC: Toki Underground, Makedo. We're going to jump right into this.
Yep.
Thank
you.
Like, Eric, we just redid the studio last weekend. And one of the big redos that we did is we put a little camera in there for Jamie. And I got to tell you something. People will not stop tweeting at Jamie and emailing us because they got such a crush on the guy now.
That's a good thing. Sound guys get no love.
I know, right?
Eric.
He's the behind-the-scenes guy, right? I used to be behind-the-scenes guy. Now I get shoved in here, right? But I'm real. I'm from the streets, man.
You're doing well.
I was behind the board. No one ever tells me how.
That jacket, it gives you street cred right
Nobody ever tells me that they love me on camera. Only you. I don't get little hearts around my face.
They just call you the dad.
We can make
from
one.
Family
We'll do it on like a Samsung draw.
Oh, yes.
Tablet draw you.
Yeah, if anybody wants to send me, some love letters with a little heart drawn on them, I will gladly take them. Let me just say that.
Some Family Circus.
We could have done it on the other segment. We really missed the.
Oh man, we should
really
have had the
mark.
graffiti writer just do it. Oh, missed opportunity. All right, Eric, I want to just jump right into sort of some of the things that you do because where we broadcast here, we are dangerously close to your fine establishments.
Yep.
Toki Underground is about a mile from here over on 8th Street. You've been there for a while. 8th Street is a whole thing now in DC, but like you guys have been there for a while. Tiny spot, but you guys have got just some of the killerest food there. Tell me a little bit about what you serve and why you serve that there and how you got to that.
Let's see. Toki Underground opened in 2011, and we are a Taiwanese noodle shop, kind of specializing in a hybrid of basically ramen. We were the first ramen shop to open inside of Washington, D.C. But I'm from Taipei, so we say it's a Taiwanese restaurant because I can.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm not Japanese, so we don't say it's Japanese. And, it's been really good to me. And then last year we opened up Makedo, which is our sister restaurant just a block down. And that's a mixed-use space. We have a menswear store, we have a coffee shop, we have a restaurant. And that kind of focuses on Cambodian, Taiwanese food.
Tell me a little bit about the vision for Makedo, because that's a big idea, man. I mean, it's like it covers a lot of stuff in that ground.
Yeah, I mean, like when we used to talk about it before we opened, there was a lot of people just looking at us like we were crazy. But, our goal ultimately was to build community on 8th Street. So I've been living on 8th Street since I moved here, which was in 2007. And so we opened all these little places to build a better neighborhood that I wanted to live in. Something that was interesting for the people that were buying homes there, which were, a certain generation, but also people that were already from there and kind of connecting the history of what 8th Street used to be before the Martin Luther King riots, which was the retail corridor of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it's really interesting because in the last hour, we talked to Clara Ritker. She's a director and producer of a series called The Great American Food Story. And she took a train from the West Coast all the way back to D.C., and she was profiling different cities and sort of how food plays a role in the community, right?
Right.
And there are a lot of folks who are just like, we're from here, we're from this neighborhood, or like we moved to this neighborhood, we've been here for several years, we want to see this serve the community.
Right.
And there are even places that like guys are opening up new restaurants or sending out surveys to people in the neighborhood and being like, what do you want to see in my new restaurant that I'm building?
Right.
And so it's really cool to me, I think, how fine dining and eating out for a while has been like, this is what I serve. You either eat it or you don't.
Right.
But people care what their customers think now, right? So when you talk about building community, I think that's cool. I think that's something that you've been out in front of for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's important for us to do stuff with integrity and cultural reference. We don't want to just make money just to make money.
Yeah. So at Makedo, you guys have a full-on restaurant. You serve... By the way, I know you don't need to hear this from me. The Taiwanese fried chicken.
Thank you.
Dude,
are you kidding me?
That's like my kids' college fund is that dish.
Yeah. Everybody's got that. Right?
That dish pays the bills.
I get it. And you know what? It's like everybody kept telling me, because like I've been to Makedo several times, and I usually go for lunch because I keep those weird hours. And I finally went and I had the Taiwanese fried chicken. So everyone was like, "Oh, you got to try this. You got to try the fried chicken." I was like, "Yeah. I'll try the fried chicken. I'm sure it's good, right?" But like, I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina. I've had a lot of fried chicken in my life. I know what good fried chicken is. This is some of the killerest fried chicken you're gonna find. So like, if you're anywhere close to DC, get your ass to Makedo and get some.
Yeah, we didn't even put that on the menu till like the day or two before we opened. but we're stuck with it now.
It's your dish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everyone knows us for our kind of like Asian food, and we kind of people forget that we make all these amazing pastries.
I was going to say.
in-house. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. So you got the restaurant, you serve all this. You got the menswear store.
Right.
You got a couple of different so like you got the coffee set up upstairs. You got a bar situation, but also you guys do pastries.
Right.
So talk to me about how the pastries play into sort of your story that you're telling at Maquetto.
Well, we open every day at 7 in the morning, which I don't think everyone knows, except for the few people that live in the neighborhood. And we bake all these pastries fresh in-house. Our baker, her name is Erica Skolnick. She used to have this company called Frenchies. She still has that company. And so she bakes all of our stuff inside of Maquetto and is our house baker. And we kind of stole her from all the farmers markets, and people can still find her stuff there. And her pastry assistant Becca, they came up with a lot of cool stuff. Like today, I brought you a kimchi pork belly savory croissant. No one can complain about that.
Whoa! I'm here for that.
Yeah, and I'm a apple turnover lover.
Oh yeah, dude.
So we got some really good apple turnovers. But yeah, we make these every day at 7. We bake all of that bread with the fried chicken. We bake that there. There's nothing there that we don't make from scratch.
But what I love there, I'm gonna get one of those in a second. But what I love,
there's only one of those kimchi pork belly. Sorry,
we're splitting that,
bro. You're still.
We're splitting.
There's a wall barrier.
Yeah. Guess what though? I got it right in front of me.
Jump through the glass.
Come on, you feel froggy? You jump. You come get some of this. You're gonna pry it from my cold dead hands. What's gonna happen to you? But you when you talk about it, you talk about opening up at 7. Like I said, I write about food. I'm around restaurant people, industry people. Open up that early, you don't necessarily do all the time because it's great for business, right?
No, we don't. We're not making any money till like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
And so you guys keep like late hours. You're cooking dinner. 7 a.m. ain't exactly the ideal time for a restaurant to open. But when you hit on it, when you talk about like there are people that live in our neighborhood, they're up that early and they need something, they can come to us.
Yeah,
it's filling that need, that's sort of putting the community above business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we have
which
that,
a lot of people don't do anymore.
There's that bagel shop next door.
Bullfrog Bagels?
Bullfrog Bagels.
We had them in
right?
studio. Yeah.
And so like they're our next door neighbors. They're doing the morning grind. We're already the coffee shop, so it's kind of like the more people doing breakfast or the more people doing lunch, the more people are going to come and get those things. So.
8th Street, as I mentioned, has sort of become a destination, right, for some people around D.C. I know that there's a community there for sure, but a lot of people will go there just to eat the food. And as one of the people who sort of got there early on with Toki, how's the sort of the camaraderie among restaurants there, right? Is it aggressive, or are you guys all sort of like in it for the same cause?
When Toki first opened, which is kind of when Joe Engler was still kind of running had a lot of the businesses there. Mm-hmm. All the business owners used to still get together for lunch once a week and talk about all our complaints, just air our grievances, how we can make everything better. But there's so many businesses now that that's not so much the case anymore. But there's still this small crew of like the dozen or so of us that have been there for so long that still, work together to make, like, good example is Joe kind of made like a super PAC, since it's like a political type show, where he gets all of us to buy the same insurance from the same insurance company so we can all get the best rate even though we're all not technically owned by the same owner. Like all 14 of us can combine our businesses into one insurance policy so we all get the best insurance policy.
That's really cool.
So
that's really, really cool, and also hits on that sort of idea of community, right?
Yeah,
community
and Joe's always been the spearhead on that.
So that's really cool.
We used to pay for our own police to patrol H Street back in 2010.
Really?
Just to make people feel safe coming down there.
That, like, you don't, but this is sort of what I keep hitting on, right? And I did in the last hours. You don't see restaurants doing that. Like, you didn't see restaurants doing that.
No one would come.
Right. Right. But it's all about serving that customer, right?
Yeah.
Like going that far to serve the customer, I think is really special. Yeah. And you guys have sort of hit into that.
I mean, the city should have paid for it, but.
Well, yeah. But like, you can do what you got to do,
cool.
Right? You got to do what you got to do. All right. Eric Bruner Yang is in studio with me. I'm going to get up on some of these pastries during the break. Pork belly and kimchi croissant, apple turnover. I see all kinds of good stuff. So we're going to come back. We're going to show you some of the pastries. I'm going to hang a fang on one of these things here real quick. We'll talk about it on the other side of the break. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press. Take a very quick break. We'll be right back.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
On opening body bags after Typhoon Haiyan. I can only imagine it like unearthing a scab. Zipper breaks open one by one. Mothers trying to dig through themselves an umbilical cord to lend life to a limp ghost. There is not enough relief here to hide the scent of what this child used to be. The coconut trees are not high enough to see over the inside out that was made here. Bags do not have the honor of being called burial plots. Churches ain't supposed to be mausoleums. Tacloban was morphed into ground zero. And I watch this while it snows in Madison, Wisconsin, a place where it's easier to live as a rodent than it is to be a colored person. This place drowns my people in a different way. I inhabit both places like Jigsaw corpse trying to find itself whole. These brown boys in Tacloban aren't my cousins, but I want to carry them to safety. These brown girls in Tacloban aren't my daughters, but I want to tell them they're still growing after this choking, but I'm still an ocean away, a language farther from root, a skin tone lighter than the sand, born there, raised here, home nowhere. To watch this storm is a sorry excuse for mourning. It is to need the sun desperately. It is to realize that your body is in one country while your grief is in another. To look at your house, walk to a river, and come back to no house is to be Filipino. To look at your motherland hurting from a TV screen is to be Filipino American. To watch my islands through the blue eyes of Anderson Cooper is the most American I have ever felt, but I still cry for them, and I still pray for them because God tried to make them Atlantis before they were ready to be a myth just yet, because rebuilding is the Filipinos' most intrinsic muscle memory, but most painful trauma, because relief is just a word whose Tagalog translation I don't even know, because this poem is all I can give for my country, bleeding in salt water. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord keeps trying to drown us. Hallowed be thy bodies. Thy kingdom come down in waves and winds on earth as it is destroyed. Take us this day our daily rations and forgive those who have tried to kill us as we forgive those who have tried to kill us. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us whose skin has always meant sin now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
On TV and online, this is the Bill Press Show.
It is the Bill Press Show. My name is Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. And while Bill's gone,
you win.
I win. I get to talk cool stuff with cool people like Eric Bruder Yang, chef and owner of Toki Underground, Keto, and Honeycomb, by the way, which is a really cool spot.
Yes, thank you.
Inside of Union Market, which, again, if you're in D.C. or you're visiting D.C., you got to check out Union Market as well. And there's you guys have a really cool store in there.
Yeah, we have a little Asian kind of bodega grocery store. We opened that because you just couldn't get Asian groceries on our side of town. But it's also kind of our R&D spot. We ferment all of our kimchi that you just ate that we use for the restaurants. We make a lot of vinegars that we use for drinking vinegars. If you've had the cocktails at Makedo, we make them there. And one of the coolest products we've made there is we've made basically a miso out of sweet potatoes. And for those... historically, hoisin sauce, everyone's like, what the hell is hoisin sauce, right? Hoisin sauce is a miso made from roasted sweet potatoes, originally. And
Dude.
so we kind of throw back to that, learn how to do that process.
Someone once told me that too much hoisin sauce is it's like too much of a good thing.
I think they're lying.
I think those are that person was a flat out liar. I'll put hoisin sauce on anything, dude.
There's a lot of people that have misconceptions about, Asian food, starting from, say, MSG. To whatever.
Well, that's a really, really good point, right? Like, it is sort of one of those things, and like with home cooking too, right? Like people, it's a daunting thing, and a lot of it has to do with ingredients, right? That you can't find at your local store. I live out in the suburbs a little bit, so like I have access to a phenomenal Asian grocery store. It's got everything I need, right? But there is sort of a mystifying thing to it, But like if you go to a place like Honeycomb inside a Union Market, there's all kinds of staples that you need in there to make it happen.
Yep.
So during the break, by the way, there was a literal knife fight between me and Jamie Benson because he came in here ravenous, teeth gnashed, ready for a fight.
What's the young lady's name?
Ray.
Ray just waited for us to cut it for her.
Yeah, she was very polite.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
No fighting on her part.
All of us are here.
I have no manners.
We're savages, and then Ray just like comes in and politely takes her pastry.
Yep.
So I have a lot of very strong feelings about biscuits, and you brought in a ham and cheese biscuit, dude. Jamie,
heavenly.
Is it? It's so good, man. Yeah, come on, it's delicious. And the pork belly and kimchi croissant, yeah.
We just started making those.
It's delicious. It's crazy good. So you also brought in some coffee. So like you guys have a whole breakfast thing at Maquetto over on H Street. So
yeah, it's no joke.
Tell me about your coffee program. I'm gonna have some coffee. By the way, I haven't had caffeine. Like I don't drink caffeine anymore. I'm gonna have some of this coffee. It's delicious.
It's gonna be a weird day.
So
for
when
you.
we started Maquetto, it was like, let's get a bunch of homegrown city guys, and we can piggyback off the success of Toki Underground, and use that kind of as the linchpin of the foundation of the business. And we partnered up with Erica, and then we partnered up with Chris Vigilante from Vigilante Coffee Roasters, which you guys here in Southeast know from him at the Farmers Market.
Yep.
And then Will Sharp from Durkle, who's the menswear guy. And even though Will and I are the owners of the business, it was like you did these partnerships with people that when we first met them, we're just doing farmers market. Chris was roasting out of his house. Erica was just baking wherever she could bake. And it was like, if we're going to be successful, then we want you guys to be successful. And so we've, obviously all of our businesses have evolved since we first met years ago. And Chris is at a place where he's at now, but we always made the commitment to use these partners. Here we are today.
That's a big part of it, right? Like you got to have the good product, you got to have a story, and you got to have the right reason to get people in. I think you guys are crushing it. What other pastries do you serve? What other breakfast items, I should say, do you serve at Maquetto?
We focus mostly on like these kind of like classic French stuff, croissants. We do scones, sometimes muffins, the biscuits, the turnovers. It's mostly these like a really good version of your typical coffee shop stuff.
Yeah. So ever since you sort of...
by the time breakfast is over, we're doing lunch.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, sure. So, I having watched what you do in this town for a while now, I think we can all, like, we've all come to the conclusion that you just sort of work your ass off, right?
Yeah, I work a lot.
So what's next?
I don't know. I mean, I got an 18-month-year-old daughter, and so we're just trying to enjoy what we have right now. We have, kind of getting back to some balance since Maquetto's like 9-10 months old now.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
Yeah. All right, dude. Congratulations on all your success.
Much. Yeah, you can pre-order any of this.
Where? Tell me where.
Ask us anything at Maquetto1351.com.
Maquetto1351.com. Answer all your questions. Order some of these pastries. And go over to H Street. Just go over to H Street on a day that you got some time to kill. Hang out. Swing by Maquetto. Get some pastries, get some lunch, get some of that Taiwanese fried chicken.
Yep.
Right? So
college fund.
You gotta help Eric's college fund, man.
My college fund that I haven't paid. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming in, dude. I really appreciate it. Talk to you again soon.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489 million, 856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by zero. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit, highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors, shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It's your boy, Peter Ogburn, sitting in for Bill Press today. About 90 seconds left on the show. So we're just going to wrap it up really quickly by talking about the GOP primary in South Carolina this weekend and the Democratic caucus on Saturday in Nevada. Not Nevada, Nevada.
Make your picks.
All right, who's going to win is what you're asking me.
I want your 1, 2, 3 in the Republican and.
All right, in South Carolina,
what's your Nevada pick?
All right, I'll start with Nevada. Nevada, Hillary Clinton is going to win by like 1 or 2%. It's going to be real tight.
Mm-hmm, agreed.
Super, super tight.
Not as tight as Iowa.
Not as tight as
close.
Iowa, but very tight. In South Carolina, the correct answer is Donald Trump is going to win in South Carolina. Ted Cruz is going to finish not that far behind him, right? These polls that show him being up by like 20 points is not going to translate in South Carolina. I think Ted Cruz is going to come within 5 or 6 points, 4, 5, 6 in that neighborhood. And I predict Rubio will be right behind Ted Cruz. I think Marco Rubio is going to be able to BS his way into another win by losing situation.
I would agree with that. I think I want to say Rubio may have a chance to catapult into second, but
it might
be
happen.
Close. It'll be close.
It might happen, but I think more likely.
The media wants it to happen more so than the voters.
They really do. They really do. All right. So there you go. I called my shot. We'll talk about it on Monday with Bill right back here in the big chair. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you on Monday. Have a magical weekend.
This is The Bill Press Show.